My name is Callus. I worked as a scientist for over 25 years. I'm passionate about leadership and making a difference to this world and creating a world that works. And so I work as a coach, an executive coach, leadership coach, to make the biggest difference to the greatest number of people. And I believe in leadership, and that's the way to make the greatest difference on this planet, to work with our leaders and empower their leadership. And that's why I've chosen to be a coach. The best thing you can do as a coach is to ask really good questions of your clients, the people you're working with. And as a scientist, what we do is ask good questions. And so to me, it's just changing the area from asking questions about science to asking questions of the clients, really asking them good questions that get them to open up and discover the answers for themselves, which is what we do as a coach. So the Being Profile is an ontological tool which looks at your ways of being. And often ways of being or being is actually really, really important, but it's often forgotten, okay? For example, we can go and get training around like how to communicate better, but who we are being in those conversations when we communicate actually is much more important than simply knowing about how to communicate. So the Being Profile was developed by a group out in Sydney called Genesis, and they've developed this profile. It's an ontological tool. It examines ways of being that are essential for success, and particularly in areas relating to leadership. And the beauty of this tool is that it provides a fantastic framework for coaching, right? So in terms of areas of performance and being effective, the Being Profile really sort of shines a spotlight on particular ways of being that may not be working as well as they could be, that really has you shift your effectiveness and shift your performance. And it's a very, very specific tool, right? So when we talk about being, it's quite a big subject, who are you being right now? But the Being Profile really delves down specifically into these 29 individual ways of being. So as a coach, it gives us a lot of scope to work, particularly on the areas that may not be working as well as they could be. So from a number of clients that I've worked with, where they haven't been able to forgive themselves in a particular area, they experience being really stuck. They're not free to move forward. And this ties into several of the other ways of being. Like it really impacts on confidence and assertiveness. They're hanging on to the past and they're not able to actually let it go and be free to create something newly into the future. And that's been a very common experience from several of the people that I'm working with. My experience with working with people is it's much easier to forgive other people when things happen, but it's much, much more difficult to forgive ourselves. And I think for a lot of people, particularly the clients I've worked with, forgiving yourself is actually a much bigger breakthrough to be had. I was working with a client. She's the CFO of a major organisation on the east coast of Australia. And she experienced feeling stuck. There was no freedom around her. And with a few questions it was able to get to, she hadn't forgiven herself from something because she, in a previous occupation, hadn't made partner of that organisation. And she had not been able to let that go. She was carrying that with her everywhere. And this was impacting on her role as a CFO in a current organisation. She didn't have any freedom to speak up because she was worried about failing or making a similar mistake or stepping over the line in her current role. And that she was really able to see this was really impacting on her assertiveness and her confidence in her role, because she didn't want to make the same mistake that she'd made in her previous, this is going back many years now. Didn't want to make that same mistake again. So the inability to forgive can definitely apply across business. It's not just in a personal life. So one of the ways of being in the Being Profile is forgiveness. And forgiveness is really about letting go of things that have happened. And part of the Thrive Coach training program is we get coaching. It's part of the program. And with my coach, I was able to see that, I really hadn't forgiven myself for something that happened a long time ago. And with the work, I did the forgiveness work on myself, and it really caused a greater lightness. I'm much lighter now as a result. And this has been a real benefit to me personally, but also to my clients. Whenever forgiveness comes up with my clients, we can do that work on forgiving yourself. And I'm able to pass on, what I've learned with them to really make a difference to them. So my experience from doing the forgiveness work on yourself is that suddenly there's a lot more lightness, there's a lot more freedom. There's not that heaviness sort of weighing you down like, oh, I've done something bad or done something wrong. There's just a general lightness around that, and there's definitely more freedom. And don't get weighed down by the details as much. It's just a general ease that comes from doing that forgiveness work on yourself, and that definitely makes a difference. And I think for me, the other part of that transformation is because I've done that work on myself. When I hear a lack of forgiveness in my clients, I can really hear that much easier now. Because I really recognise what I've gone through in my clients, and I'm then able to open up that area with my clients much more easily. And knowing that I've done that work myself makes it much easier to coach someone around that area. So higher purpose as a way of being is basically what pulls you out of bed. When life's getting challenging or difficult, what is it that still has you keep taking actions to cause a result in the world that you want to cause, okay? And this is something that, this is an area that I have grappled with for many years now. And in the training program, I was able to really confront what higher purpose is and have conversations around higher purpose. And for me, it's opened up a whole new possibility. And that really is about, one area in particular is working for a sustainable planet. And that is also in the area of like renewable energy and how to make a difference to the planet in terms of renewable energy and cleaning up the pollution, both water and air pollution. So I've got real clarity around my higher purpose now since doing this training program, that I want to make a difference to these areas. The biggest difference having the Being Profile debrief under your belt. As a coach, the biggest difference is that we get to the heart of the matter much more quickly. And I think as a coach, I'm really committed to getting results quickly with my clients. And the Being Profile, because of the way it looks at these ways of being, it's very specific. We can go in and coach specifically around these specific ways of being that may not be working as well as they could be. Okay, and therefore we are able to increase and impact on your effectiveness, your awareness, which ultimately translates into performance and the results you want to cause in the world. So as a coach, it gives us a very powerful framework to quickly cause results with our clients, because we've got very specific areas that we can go to work on. The Being Profile is it's a powerful tool because it provides a very powerful coaching framework. So a lot of the ways of being really impact on things like leadership and teamwork and things like that. So it really is aimed for people who are in that sort of leadership space, but it's also for people who are looking to transition in their careers or to really move into leadership type positions. What we find is that as human beings, we put barriers in the way for our own performance, okay? And if you are considering changing careers or taking your career into moving it to more of a leadership type position, doing a Being Profile and starting to see or seeing where, for example, some of your ways of being may not be as good or working as well as they could be, is really, really useful, because you then start to go to work on those ways of being, which is going to really empower you to set you up to make those sort of transitions into that new career or into a new phase. For a lot of people that I've introduced the Being Profile to, their initial reactions often are things like, oh, this is just another psychometric tool. I've done a lot of these in the past. And I always say to them, well, this is an ontological tool. It's a brand new tool. It's not been previously used. So it's very different from anything else that you might have done. And again, because it works in the area of ontology, this is something that you may not necessarily have ever looked at before. So, for example, in the area of confidence, okay, you often see people behaving confidently with other people, but inwardly they're second guessing themselves, they're very unsure of everything they're doing or saying. So their actual being is not very confident. Whereas with the being profile, it actually looks at who you are being in the area of things like confidence. Okay, and as a coach, when we go to work on, say, confidence, it's much more profound because we're looking at that who you are being in that area. Okay, so it's much more powerful, for example, than say behavioural change work, as an example. I think a great place to start with people who are wanting to make a change is we have a conversation around higher purpose. What is your higher purpose? And I think that's a really important conversation. It's one that I've grappled with doing the Thrive Coach training. What is your higher purpose? And getting clear on the higher purpose, and then having conversations around other ways of being like courage, responsibility, assertiveness, confidence. So when you go to these other ways of being, you know, opportunities, paths for action will start to emerge. As a coach, you know, we would start to see, okay, you know, what would it look like if you took that action? You know, what are the resources you have at play? You know. And you know, we'd have that conversation and explore that more deeply. Okay, I think that the beauty of the being profile is that we all have things that get in our way. We put them there ourselves. We don't even know about it necessarily. So the being profile helps shine a spotlight on things in your life that may be preventing you from having the success that you want to have, or having the career path that you want to have. So one of the guys I'm working with, one of my clients I'm working with, he's an entrepreneur. And we started a coaching conversation several weeks ago about him having a motivational speaking career, transitioning from being an entrepreneur. He's a fisherman, he's got a very successful fishing business. And he said he's done a lot of training in the area of leadership. And so we started the conversation around, you know, what does that look like for you? You know, what is the higher purpose? How does it look for you? What is it you want to achieve in this speaking goal? Okay. And that led from one thing to another. And he got so excited, he's now started to see all new possibilities for himself. And he applied for a CEO role of a major national organisation. And I had a coaching session with him just yesterday, and he informed me that he's been put onto the shortlist as for the CEO of this organisation. This is a huge shift for this guy. And it was simply coming from the position of, you know, what is the higher purpose and what does it look like and what do you want to cause in the world? And he was able to see, literally after that first conversation, the position was advertised and he saw it and he applied right there. So he got straight into action, okay? And from his being profile, we had, you know, some of his lowest scores were in the area of assertiveness and confidence. And he was able to step into being more confident, being more assertive, and saying, this is what I want. And he's applied and he's been shortlisted. And this is a great result. And for people who are in that sort of transitions phase or wondering, is this all there is to life? What else could I do with my life? The being profile is a fantastic access to move forward in that regard. Look, I've been doing ontological work for about 7 years now. And so when the opportunity to do the Being Profile accreditation and then the Thrive Coach training program, I was really excited by that. Because whilst I have been trained in the area of ontology, I wasn't really sure how to actually use that from a coaching perspective. And then when I met one of the directors of Ingenesis, and he said, look, we have this brand new tool, we'd love you to be trained in using it. I jumped at the chance, and the Being Profile has really, and the Thrive Coach training has taken my coaching to a whole new level. I'm much more confident. I'm able to drill down to the heart of the matter very quickly with my clients, which I think is really, really important. I'm committed to having, you know, the best possible life and results for my clients. And I think the Being Profile just fast tracks, it helps me to fast track that as a coach for my clients. And I've been really, really pleased with the training. It's been fantastic. It's definitely increased my confidence as a coach, my competence and effectiveness as a coach. And I really recommend the Thrive Coach training program to any coach who wants to take their coaching to a whole new level. Okay, so first of all, I love the Thrive Coaching program. It's been a real joy to participate in. It's been an intensive 13-week coach training program, working with other ontologically trained coaches or who are being trained in this ontological work, using the Being Profile as the framework for the coaching. The Thrive Coach program involves a number of weekly training sessions, which is a combination of theory in which we deepen our understanding of the ways of being that make up the Being Profile, as well as a number of practical breakout experiences where we get to practice what we're learning in the session on each other, and then to take that out into the real world with our clients. So one of the ways of being that I really experienced breakthroughs in doing the Thrive Coaching program is in the area of responsibility. So I know that for my business wasn't going was going okay, but it was because I wasn't taking sufficient actions. I wasn't being responsible about causing the business that we wanted to cause. And in doing the training program, I could see that I wasn't being responsible, and so I had to be responsible and take those actions and cause the results I wanted to cause. The result of doing the work around responsibility was I was now taking action, whereas before I wasn't taking action. And not surprisingly, I'm causing results where I wasn't causing results before. And that's translating into more sales for our business, more clients as a coach, and just it's also impacted on my confidence as a coach as well. Taking the actions, causing those results has definitely impacted on my confidence as well.